What is up, guys? Chief here. Happy Clash Anniversary. Today is Clash of Clans Day because the game was released August 2nd of 2012. It is now August 2nd of 2017, so we are celebrating 5 years today. Anyways, today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to attack really good when it comes to farming or war. Now, whenever I have new people join my clan, or even sometimes elders who might have been in the clan for a couple weeks, maybe a month or so, and I've never put them in war, because sometimes I'll have members that join and I don't put them in war because I never tested them out through like a friendly challenge or something to see how strategic they are, because I don't like putting in new people in war without knowing how good they are at attacking, because that could jeopardize our win simply because I don't know if they're good at attacking or not. If I put them in war and they are not as strategic as I would hope they could be the one and only person that would cost us the war. Say if we fell by like maybe 2 stars, 3 stars, and everyone used their attacks except them, and then when they do, they end up failing on a base they were supposed to 3-star, and everyone was counting on them to get it, but they didn't. Anyways, let's just go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys personally how I do it, and I would highly encourage you guys to use this method if you want to enhance your strategic skills in this game. So I already used my first attack in war. As you can see, instead of it showing 2 attacks left for war, I have 1 attack left over. What I did was I attacked number 2 in war because that is actually my mirror. As you can see, I am number 2 in war, so I attacked number 2 in this war. The first thing I usually do before I make an attack in war is what any person should do, but for some reason some people don't. But let's just say, this is what y'all should do if you want to, get better. So the first thing I do is I look for the clan castle, and this guy has it here, so I just tap on it. And what you'll notice is that it says 30 out of 30 right there. Now what that means is that the clan castle is full. It could be anything in there. We don't know what it could be. It could be a lava hound, a golem. It could be like 3 Valkyries and a wizard with 2 archers, or a dragon with a baby dragon, or maybe even like a witch, Valkyrie, and baby dragon. Anything of that nature. It could have any combination of troops to even just 1 massive troop in there. Anyway, so after I find the clan castle and confirm whether there are troops in there or not, because sometimes when you go into war, you'll have clans that don't fill up the clan castles before battle day begins, so once war actually starts, you don't have to worry about luring the clan castle. But you should always check no matter what, whether there are troops in there or not. Always double check, triple check, just to make sure, because you do not want to be the one that is at fault for your clan losing the war because you didn't check if the clan castle was full or not. So anyways, after you check, I look around the highlighted tiles around the base to see where the best areas would be to deploy my troops. I would even look at the defense buildings, check out the range on them, so I can know, what's going to be shooting at my troops if I deploy within that range. And it looks like for this base, it doesn't matter where I'm going to deploy my troop at, because there's going to be something shooting them anyways. So what I would do is I would start with 1 archer in between the spell factory and the barrack with the P.E.K.K.A head on top of it. So that would get the troops out. And after the troops are out, I would look around the base some more, because you don't want to use all your troops all of a sudden right there. You want to start with 1 archer to get the troops out. So after you get the troops out using your 1 archer, of course, sacrifices have to be made sometimes. So after you sacrifice your 1 archer, I look around the base, I look at defense buildings, and it's very good to know how much range defense buildings have in general. Usually mortars, mortars have the most range, and wizard towers and bomb tower, they tend to have the minimum kind of range. As you can see, like the range isn't very much for these 2 defense buildings, but the archer towers and mortars have a lot, and cannons kind of have a lot too, except when you set it to double cannon. Anyways, but when I looked around and as you can see here, if you look at the range on the archer tower and cannon here, they can't really reach this corner here of this builder hub right here. And since archers shoot from a distance, they don't walk up close and personal like the way barbarians do or giants do or something. So what I would do is I would simply just drop an archer at the far corner right above the hut so it can run towards the hut, but just stay out of range of these two defense buildings here. Now, what you do is you just leave that one archer there that you put in that corner, and the enemy clan castle troops that came out are going to travel all the way over to that builder hut where your second archer of the battle is deployed. Once the troops get there, you know, depending on your level, some people can carry the poison spell, some can't. So if you can carry the poison spell, what I would do is I would let your second archer die, and then up on here in the rocks, very far corner, drop one more archer there to drag the troops a little further away from the base again, and then just kind of like circle the troops with your archers, and then after they are circled, deploy your poison spell, because the enemy troops will then not be allowed to run away from the poison spell because they are surrounded by archers. If you drop the poison spell first and then try to surround them with archers, the enemy clan castle troops are going to try to get out of range of that poison spell and then try to kill your troops, which is not a good thing because then your poison spell just became useless. Now, let's say if you're a lower town hall level and you are not allowed to carry the poison spell yet, usually there's not going to be as many troops inside of the clan castle because lower town halls don't face clan castles level 5. So, you know, you don't have to worry about 30 troops being in there or whatever. It's usually like 10, 15, or 20, 25 max, you know, for town hall 8s and below. But some town hall 8s can carry the poison spell. But for town hall 7 and below, you cannot carry the poison spell at all. So what you would do is you're just going to simply, you know, again, just look for a corner of the base where you can just deploy an archer, drag the enemy troops all the way over there, and then just surround them with archers. And depending on the level of your archers would depend on the amount of archers you're going to use. So let's say if you have anything from like level 4 archers or lower than that, you're going to want to carry at least 25 archers to 30 archers max in order to kill whatever troops would lie inside of the enemy clan castle. If you have level 5 archers or higher, you're only going to need, I want to say, about 23, 24 to like 19 minimum. But if you're going to use 19, you're definitely going to want to make sure you carry a poison spell with it to assist them, because 19 archers without a poison spell will not work unless, of course, the enemy clan castle troops are low level troops and, you know, your archers will kill them anyways just because they're facing weak troops. But in general, you're usually going to be facing strong troops because the upper town halls inside of the war in general, like number 1 on my team, number 1 on the enemy team, they're going to be the ones usually donating in preparation day to ensure that they have the strongest troops defending everyone's bases in the war. Anyway, so that's what it would take to kill the troops. Let's go ahead and take a look at how I took out this base for this war, because I already told you how I scouted it and how I dragged the troops away from the base to kill the troops before I fully raided the base. So of course, I started down here, right in between the spell factory and the barrack, and then all the way up here, where that builder was. I start off in that corner. I drag the troops all the way there. And then of course, like I said, let your second archer die, drop the third one in that far corner, surround them, and then drop the poison spell. And as you can see, the troops are not going anywhere, they are staying inside of that poison spell's range. So let's go ahead and I'm going to allow y'all to watch this raid, kind of see how it went, and then I'll continue explaining more on attacks for farming besides war. I must say though, when it comes to farming, it's kind of the same concept when it comes to learning clan castle, but you're usually going to want to use way cheaper armies. Like this army right here that I used in this attacking war cost me a lot of dark elixir. I think it cost me nearly 4,000 dark elixir and just a little well over 100,000 regular elixir. Now for the elixir, that's not very much for a Town Hall 9, but for dark elixir, it's definitely a lot. I'll show you what I use when it comes to farming. I definitely use some pretty cheap armies when it comes to farming, and I score so much loot. Like, I score a lot, and it helps me buy the most expensive upgrades that I need to help me level up my base as fast as possible. Minus the amount of upgrade time it takes for your builder to finish, but at least I have the loot ready so that way when the builder's done, I can just buy the next upgrade instantly. Yeah, this guy got completely demolished. I annihilated his base. Like, look how many Valkyries and skeletons are running there. Thank you, witches. Those skeletons really do create quite the distraction on those even plays. So this is where the raid gets finished up. Down goes the bomb tower. Here's the tower, and now for the last one, the cannon. Anyways. So, now to go over farming. What I usually do in farming is I use pretty cheap armies. This is what I would normally use. I use 100 barbarians, 100 archers, 20 goblins, and only 2 spells. Now, I can hold a lot more spells than that. I could hold 4 spells plus an extra dark spell, but I like to only stick with 2. It helps me save a lot of elixir. And healing spells are pretty great as well. It helps keep your troops alive. Anyways, as you can see, it only cost me 109,000 elixir. I spend no dark elixir at all, so it's definitely a good way to save dark elixir. Anyways, I might as well start training some since I don't have any in my camps right now. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at my attack log. Definitely, you know, whenever you use Barch with goblins, you know, you can't expect to really get super high percentage. Don't expect to get a lot of stars. But as you can see, for someone who spent 109,000 elixir and no dark elixir, I score pretty big. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you just take what I spent on my army minus what I earned, you know, I actually had a pretty huge gain. And it's like that for every single raid. And yes, I can even score lots of dark elixir. As you see, I've scored 2,700 here, 2,400 there. It's a good way to farm, and it definitely helps you save a lot on loot. And I would recommend that kind of farming army even for lower town halls. Now, you might not be able to hold 100 barbarians, 100 archers, and 20 goblins because, you know, not everyone's a town hall 9 or town hall 10. You know, not everyone's an upper town hall. Like, if you only can hold up to, let's say, like 130 troops or whatever, you know, just stick to like maybe like 75 barbarians, 75 archers, or, you know, something like that. Just keep it cheap. And what you're gonna want to do with spells is, I mean, you could still stick with the just 1 lightning spell or the 2 healing spells, depending on if you have the healing spell unlocked yet or not. You know, because usually in the lower town hall levels, your expenses really aren't as bad as the higher levels are. But this is definitely the best way you're going to want to farm. You know, if you want to go ahead and take a look at one of these attacks here, let me see if I can pick up one of my good scores here. Let's just go ahead and watch this one. Now what I normally do is I look for dead bases, and the way you know the bases are dead, as you can see, this clan castle clearly is not in a clan, because there would have been a clan emblem there. It would have showed the clan level, whether it was a clan level 1 all the way up to clan level 17 or whatever. You know, I like to look for dead bases, because those dead bases, as you can see, usually carry full amount of gold mines and elixir collectors. If I can find one that's kind of right. Or even the dark rails, you see how it's kind of full. It's a really good way to, you know, get your loot up a lot. And what I like about dead bases, no ammunition inside of those explodes. Those explodes are empty. And now this Town Hall 10 right here is rushed. He's very, very rushed. He didn't even have the Inferno Tower yet because he rushed so much that he probably couldn't even afford it. But it's definitely a good way to farm, guys. I mean, definitely just stick to Barch. Add some goblins in if you have enough space. Otherwise, you know, just Barch. And try to keep your spells to a minimum. Don't buy up all the amount of spells you can and try to, make your army completely full. It's nice to try to not have such a full amount of spells because it'll save you tons of loot. Anyways, guys, so that's basically it. Whenever I farm, the best way to go about it, if you feel like you're about to attack a base that's not dead, like the one we just saw, where, there is a clan emblem over it, there is a clan level, so for a fact he's in a clan. Whenever you farm, you can't tell if there are troops in there or not, because when it comes to war, you can scout and you can check the clan council to see if there's 20 out of 20 or 30 out of 30, whatever it may be. So what I do is I kind of just look at my own clan castle and look at the range of it. Just kind of look at the size of that circle, of the the white circle around the clan castle, because that's its range. Every clan castle has the same amount of range. No matter what town hall level you are, they all have the same range. So as long as you can kind of just look and just kind of remember how much range it has, then whenever you go farming online, you will be able to tell if the range is sticking outside of the walls or sticking out over one of the defense buildings, so where that depending on what troop you're deploying, it will be able to lure the troops out of the clan castle. Usually when it comes to higher levels, it's good to stick with one hog rider to lure the troops out, because higher levels like to try to make it as difficult as possible for you to lure the troops out. But for lower levels, it's usually good to stick with one archer or maybe just one wall breaker. They're pretty good at getting inside of the range of the clan castle to get the troops out. But yeah, so other than luring and attacking and stuff, I mean, Barch is the best way to keep it cheap if you want to save up a lot of loot. And then when it comes to war, just always scout and just come up with a plan on how you're going to get those troops out and how you're going to kill them, what to use and stuff. Just make sure the clan castle is full or not, because if there's no troops inside of the enemy clan castle when it comes to war, you won't even need archers, honestly. I mean, unless you really want them inside of your army, then go ahead and use them, but otherwise you really don't need them if there's no troops inside of the enemy clan castle. You can just use the strongest troops you have and just hit the base you're attacking as hard as you can. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Oh, well, yeah, I guess not. I have one more thing I should mention. Whenever I scout for war, besides the clan castle, there is another kind of important thing you might want to note, is the amount of defense buildings they have per side. And what I mean by that is how many archer towers they put on one side of the base, how many cannons they put on one side of the base, etc., whatever defense buildings you feel like hurt you the most. Me personally, since I'm using ground troops, I feel like archer towers and cannons are the ones that hurt me the absolute most. I would say the mortar because of splash kills, as well as the wizard tower, but since the wizard tower doesn't carry so much range, I don't worry about it as much. And as for the mortars, they shoot pretty slow. Like, each cannonball takes a while to launch, so their timing's really not so great, since I use Valkyries, and Valkyries move really fast, especially once I drop a rage spell and a haste spell over them. Anyway, so the way I did it for this base, I already showed you guys how I checked the clan castle, how I lured the troops, how I killed them. Now, let me explain why I started on this particular side of the base. And it's very simple. He has 1, 2, 3 cannons. And he only has 5 cannons in total. So with 5 cannons in total, and he put 3 of them on this side, that means 3/5 of his cannons are already on one side. And he already included a mortar and a wizard tower right there for me to take out. So I'm already taking out a significant amount of his defense buildings right from the jump in the beginning of this raid. And with rage spells and stuff, my Valkyries slice through these walls like a hot knife through warm butter. That's the best way I would say it's good to go about attacking. Now, for those of you who agree with or disagree with me, let me explain why I go about this, because some people would wonder, why would you start off on the strongest side of the base? I mean, with that many cannons and wizard towers there, wouldn't that mean that you're immediately killing off lots of your troops right from the jump, instead of starting off in an area where there's less defense building so they have more time to survive? This is why. Because if I start off attacking on this side, then that means the first few buildings that my troops are going to be taking out once they enter the base through the walls are going to be defense buildings. You know, it's not going to be these, you know, buildings that don't really kill off your troops. You know, the BS buildings is what some people would call it. You know, I'm not going to say it because I don't particularly like using profanity, you know, especially over a game. But that's really it, honestly. You know, where you see the most defense buildings is where you're going to want to start your raid, because the sooner you take out those defense buildings, the sooner you are to just, you know, having nothing left over but BS buildings to take out. And, you know, you don't really have to worry about your troops dying as much anymore because there's nothing left to kill them, if that makes sense. You know, so if it comes for air attacks, you know, because I did a ground troop attack, so that's why it was kind of important that I went for the cannons and stuff, since they go for ground troops only. If you're doing an air attack, you know, I don't know, I mean, some people like to do the lava hounds with balloons kind of raid, or if you're lower town hall level, they tend to do dragon raids with maybe hog riders or loons with their dragons. What I would do is, you know, if you're one of the lightning fans, you know, with the lightning spell, you know, just take out an air defense and then, you know, kind of just spread your troops out off from the side. You know, that's not a bad way to go about your air attacks. What I noticed is that some people, for some reason, they really like deploying all their dragons in one spot. You know, sometimes you get 3 stars doing that, but a lot of times you don't. It's honestly a lot better to spread your dragons out, because they kind of are like the air tanks, you know, like they're definitely like the tanks of the air for troops, besides the lava hound, you know, but that's something you get at Town Hall 9 and above. So for you lower Town Hall levels, like, agree or disagree, the dragon is your strongest air troop. It takes the most hits. So it's kind of best to spread it out, especially since, you know, that flame that it spits out is really, really strong. You know, even for level 1 dragons versus a Town Hall 7, level 1 dragons still pull off some pretty nice 3 stars on them. Usually when you go for air attacks, it's kind of nice to look for the air sweepers as well, because those air sweepers can get so annoying, you know, like they'll just push your dragons or minions or whatever you have, like they'll just push them off of the air defenses, buying those enemy air defenses more time to kill your troops. So, you know, for lower Town Hall levels, when you're not versing 2 air sweepers and you're only facing 1 air sweeper, depending on how the air defenses are set up, usually you're going to want to try to find a way to approach the base from behind the air sweeper. So, let's say if I was doing an air attack on this base, and let's just pretend it's not a Town Hall 9 and he doesn't have 2 air sweepers, let's just say he only has 1 air sweeper, no expos, none of that, and only 3 air defenses, I would usually take out 1 air defense, and then with only 2 air defenses left in that 1 air sweeper, I would come up behind him, like starting off on this side to spread my dragons out, one on each kind of building. Oh shoot, my bad. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what you're going to want to do, is you just want to come up from behind the air sweeper. I didn't mean to hit the arrow, that was an accident, but that's your goal though. You want to come up behind the air sweepers, so that way the air sweepers can't push your air troops off of those air defenses. And not to mention, since the air defenses are kind of closer to the wall on that side, it's kind of a good thing, because that means your troops are going to get to those air defenses sooner, and they'll take them out sooner. Whenever they're like dead center in the base, it takes a lot longer to reach those air defenses, which makes it harder to win the raid, because your dragons are too busy going around the base instead of going straight to the center to take out the air defenses, because they don't do that. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up, guys. I hope this helped you guys out a lot. You know, if I'll probably be doing another video soon next week. I do try my best to free my schedule, but at the same time, you know, I gotta stay busy. But if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, just leave them down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And happy Clash Anniversary, Clash of Clans Day. Don't forget, Clash on, guys.